Tony Green. The one, the only.
Excuse me, looking for a restaurant called El Faro, the Lighthouse.
It's right there, man.
Right there?
That red awning, yeah, that's you. Go in, have some culture.
Oh, thank you. I just had some up there. I'll have some more, but I won't.
Well, you know what, go get a pizza. Who needs culture? Sheesh. What was I thinking?
What are you doing? You're gonna put it here.
This is a mirror, and what it does, it reverses the image of what I'm looking at, but it also reverses the image of my painting. So I can immediately see if there's some sort of compositional error, because after about 20 minutes looking at a canvas, your eye gets tired and you don't see. So by flipping it around, I could see, there's an area maybe that's too dark, or I see that maybe I need to do some work in there, whereas regularly I wouldn't be able to see it. So in my studio, what I usually have a big mirror on the far wall. So let's say if I was doing a portrait of you and I had my canvas set up, then I could just turn around and look in the mirror, and I could see my canvas that I'm working on and also my subject, my model, and I would see immediately, I could make an instant comparison to get a fresh idea to see if there's any compositional problems. It also doubles the mistakes. I mean, I ran the Venice Marathon about 6 years ago, and that's a killer, man. You start off in this village outside of Venice, and after you clock 24 miles, then you hit Venice, and you got 14 bridges to go over. I mean, dude, after you lay down 24 miles, just stepping up on a curb is like, major. But I did it. I finished, and that was the whole thing, was to show up and to finish. Like all things in life, half of life is showing up, right? Okay, there's certain people who tend to believe that all religions, that's Catholicism, Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, Hebrewism, Jewish faith, that it's all the adoration of the planet Saturn. The planet Saturn, okay? What? The planet Saturn? What has that got to do with anything? Well, through history, the planet Saturn is associated with the number 6, because it's the sixth planet from the sun. There's Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, okay? Saturn is also the 6th day of our week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturn day, okay? And back in ancient times, Saturn was referred to as the dark star, the black sun, because it's a dwarf star. And there actually used to be 2 suns in our solar system. Now, so it's called the Black Sun. And there are actually things called like the Saturn death cult. And that's what part of the Nazis. You're going to have to move because the rabbis needs to come in here. It's a slow news day. The Nazis chose the swastika as their symbol of the Third Reich because what they did, they took an ancient symbol from India of the sun, okay, and they flipped it around because it's the black sun, okay, the dark star. And archons are all about inversion, okay? It's about taking out good as evil, beautiful is ugly, ugly is beautiful. All these things are turned upside down, in and out. And so to get back to Saturn and the number 6, so being as it's called the Black Sun and the number 6 is associated with Saturn, the black cube, the black six-sided black cube is the symbol for Saturn, which you're going to find in so many places. For example, if you're a good Muslim, you have an obligation to eventually go to the country of Saudi Arabia and to go to Mecca, to go to the huge mosque that's there. And once you get inside of that mosque, what are they all worshiping? There is a big black cube, okay? And they go around it 7 times, like the rings around Saturn. You guys, the Jews, right here in the ghetto, what's it called? The Teflon?
Tefillin.
Tefillin, yeah. It's a black cube, isn't it? Huh, what's that all about? You go to the United Nations in New York, and they have the multi-denominational, worship center for Christians, for Jews, for Muslims, for Buddhists, and everything. And there's no crosses, there's no nothing in it. The only thing that's in there is a black cube, okay? Now, once you become aware of that, you're going to start seeing it popping up all over the place. Now, here's an incredible discovery that was made in 2006 when the Cassini space probe went to the planet Saturn and took all these photographs of the rings around Saturn, of the planet itself, of the South Pole, and of the North Pole of Saturn. You know what they found on the North Pole? They found an ongoing storm that's 22,000 miles wide that's in the shape of a hexagon.
Let's talk about the Biennale.
Sure, let's talk about.
Because I briefly mentioned that I thought that everything is beautiful and that therefore everything can be considered art, but you argued otherwise, that it's just BS.
Well, BS is a simplification of it, but what it is that number one, there's been, a deliberate dumbing down of society over the last 100 years or more. And one way they do that is to corrupt the arts. The arts used to be an expression of human craftsmanship. All right, people would know how to learn how to use their hands. They worked for their father, or their grandfather, and great grandfather, and the craftsmanship was passed down. And so they started at an early age, like Canaletto and the great painters in Venice. The amazing thing about Canaletto, he created something called the camera oscura, the dark room. And what he would do, if you look at Canaletto's paintings, they're all painted from the first floor, or in Italy we call it the second floor. And what he would do, when I say they painted from the first floor, it means all the lines of perspective converge at someone's eye line being right on the first floor of the building. So they would close the shutters of the windows, right, to make the room completely dark. And then there'd be a hole in one of the shutters, so just light would come through there. So what are we creating? Creating like a camera, right? And if you take a piece of paper, a white piece of paper, and you hold it up against that light, you can do this on experiment. What you're going to see is the image that's out there, but upside down. Okay, because it's refracted light, and it comes through that hole just the same way as this camera that's, filming me right now. And what he would do, then he'd have a box that would go in and a mirror that would reflect it, and then he would trace all that stuff. If you look at Canaletto's paintings, they have all these ships and masts and lines and everything perfectly rendered, and that's how he would do that. So, he took his craftsmanship and then he got inventive and he took it to a whole nother level. Right? But today, you see all that, I've been the victim of many schools that didn't teach anything. One being the Corcoran School of Arts in Washington, D.C., which is located right next to the Executive Building. You have the White House, the Executive Building, the Corcoran School of Art. 19th century marble building, absolutely beautiful. And I went there in my tender years thinking I was going to learn about anatomy, color theory, perspective, composition, when in fact just the opposite happened. I got stuck with a guy called Gene Davis, whose thing was stripes. He was the master of masking tape. This is like in the late 70s when things had really reached an apex of insanity, of banal artwork, of anything is art. And you see, part of the corruption of the arts is corrupting the word beauty, because everything is beautiful. Or you ask the average person, or you ask one of these Biennale artists what the definition of beauty is. Beauty? There's no definition to beauty. How can you say there's a definition for beauty? Which translates to there are no standards anymore. That everything is accepted, everything has to be politically correct, and therefore what you've done, you've knocked out one of the foundations of civilization. And that's that sound you hear right now, is civilization collapsing as each generation becomes more ignorant. And it's like today's Italians. As you walk around Italy and you look at all this wonderful architecture and the statues and the paintings, well, today's Italians are the custodians. The next generation is going to be the destroyers of it, as being represented right now in my hometown in New Orleans, because the leftist agenda has decreed that all the statues of the Confederate generals are now racist. They know nothing about history. They don't know who those men represent. They don't know what the Civil War was really all about, But because just a small group of people decree this to be, because they're following orders, they're mouthpieces for the globalists, those statues have been physically taken down. Statues that have been there for 130-something years. And not only have they been taken down, but they've been unceremoniously stuck in a junkyard. Okay? Now that's ISIS behavior. All right. Now, what is ISIS? It's the same mentality. It's about destruction. I call it an Archon mentality. Archon, A-R-C-H-O-N. Those are the psychic vampires that are the energy behind all of this. All right. It's about the destruction of humanity. And that's what the Biennale is. It's a death cult. The Biennale is all about the death of humanity. It's about degradation of humanity. It's about hopelessness, no craftsmanship to be found, and they are just calling cards for the global elite who are mouthpieces for the art. I don't know. I think family's a good thing. It's a great thing. I think we should have lots and lots of kids. I don't think there's enough people on the planet. Mm-hmm. I mean, they talk about, it's all about creating self-loathing within humans. How do they do that? Number one, telling us there's too many people on the planet. Number two, they tell us we cause the world to global warming by exhaling. Merely our presence, breathing, causes, Now that whole global warming scam, it is a scam. It's one of the biggest scams. So people are waking up to it. I mean, if you really want to know what climate change is, there's something out there that takes up 99% of the mass of the solar system. It's called the sun. And the sun has a cycle of sunspots. Okay. And this one's just like this huge plasma, right? And some of those sunspots are bigger than the planet Jupiter. Okay. So when you have a lot of sunspot activity, what happens? The whole solar system warms up. All right? Now, I did an experiment the other day. First, I sat in the shade, and then I went and sat in the sun. You know what happened? Got warmer. Well, you're not supposed to know about that. What's orange and sounds just like a parrot? I think I know. Let's see what she No, this is cool. So, last time, what's orange and sounds just like a parrot?
I'm in elementary school.
It's easy. Okay, you want to know the answer? A carrot.
I was going to say an orange parrot.
I was going to say Donald Trump.
It's all propaganda. It's people with short attention spans, which are brought to you by smartphones and too much computer usage that you don't use your brain anymore. You don't exercise analytical thinking. You want instant gratification. And it teaches kids to have the attention span of a goldfish. And when you have people like that, they're so easy to control, and they get what's called the text neck. The text neck. Because they spend their whole life with their head looking at the blue pleasure center, because the virtual world is so much more interesting, because you have all your virtual friends, synthetic friends, and you have all the dumb videos to look at and things to entertain you constantly. And so they make the real world seem like it's really horrible, so that you retreat into this virtual world with the pleasure center. And now they got the virtual things that you put on, and eventually you're going to get the microchip, and then you'll be there all the time. And you'll be completely dominated, controlled, enslaved. And the moment you get that microchip, you can kiss your humanity goodbye. Okay, this one's easy. What's orange and smells like a carrot? Go. You ready? A bunny fart.
Good night. Nice to meet you, Tony. Have a good one.
That's like a Saturday Night Live.
Time.
Twinkle Bear.
being a painter, so I'm somewhat of a truth seeker. Honest observation. I like looking at nature, so I look at these flowers, I look at people, etc. And hey, come on, sit down, sit down. Here's beauty in motion right here. Rafael, don't let the good looks fool you. She's very intelligent.
Am I interrupting something?
No, what was the question we were talking about?
I'm asking him when he discovered a passion to seek the truth, basically.
Well, I must say, I think, as I was saying, you're being an artist, and I'm not an artist, because today the definition of an artist is someone that's unemployed. Right? I'm a painter. I want to be part of the tradition of painters, and that's my goal in life. What I really would love to do, before I die, would be get a commission to decorate the inside of a small chapel. Put all the figures and angels and men and women and all the cherubs and the whole thing. I would love to do that. That would just be, But until that moment comes, you ask me, how did I get into this? Well, I've always been, since at an early age I traveled. I hit the road. I hitchhiked around West Africa when I was in my early 20s, and then I lived in Belgium for 2 years. I was 3 years away from America. And when I came back to America after being away for 3 years, and this was in the 80s, I really understood how television was programming people, the Saturday Night Live. Okay, I couldn't watch it. I thought it was absolutely disgusting. And this is in the 80s. It was perverted. And I watched as I was on the college campus what these kids talked about and how, disassociated they were from reality of how, being in Africa, seeing those people there who I was told that they were savages. I found out that they were the most civilized people of all. Family was important. Children were community property. Very clean people and very, respective of others. And then I traveled into the Sahara Desert and I met all these Islamic people. They treated me like a king, like I was a prince. I was just a dumb little skinny long-haired kid. But everybody was worth something. Everybody was worth something. And when you think about it, you go to Egypt, you go to Cairo, or you go to Israel, etc. They've had Christians, Jews, and Islamic people living together for centuries without any problems at all. Everybody does their thing. So again, it's that archon energy that's teaching the younger generation to hate people, to look at and not to see what connects us, but what makes us different. And they're using that by focusing on our reptilian brain. And the reptilian brain is that part of your brain that comes right off your spinal cord. As it meets your brain, it's a lump about as big as my fist. Okay, and in medical terms, it's also called the reptilian brain. Okay, and that's what they're programming is our reptilian brain to be, if I call you a jerk, you punch me, or the reptilian brain puts things in order, or most importantly, the reptilian brain hoards. Never have enough shoes, never have enough, money, never have enough this, that, and the other, okay? And there was a guy called Edvard Bernays, who was the nephew of Sigmund Freud, and he wrote a book in 1921 called Propaganda. I suggest you read it. And he is the father of consumerism in America. He created the whole thing of that you associate with products. Okay? For instance, there was back in the teens, there was a parade of women's rights going on in New York City. We had a big parade down, Fifth Avenue. And Edvard Bernays, being the genius that he was, he set up a camera. This was when it was just silent film. And he instructed this one group of ladies, when they got to this corner of, Fifth and Elm Street, whatever, he would start the camera, they would stop, and all this group of women would all pull out a cigarette and light it up. He filmed that. You know what happened? The cigarette became the symbol of the liberation of women. So that's why then the cigarette sales went off the roof. All right? And that was just one of many things. And then, you see, it got more sophisticated in the 60s and 70s. Then they started selling political candidates like a product. Or You know, I'm with this team, I'm with the Democrat team, or I'm with this team, I'm with the Republican team. My dad was a Republican, so I'll be a my grandpa was a Democrat. And you vote for that candidate without really understanding what the ingredients are, what the background is, what it's going to do to your body once you ingest it and have it in power, etc., etc. So again, instant gratification, all right? And dumbing down people so that they never do any research. Intellectually lazy.
Tony, I'm interested to know what you think about what you think. So maybe together you guys can
Sing a song?
that would be nice. I don't know any song.
I can't sing. He's the singer.
Not really.
No, not a debate. You guys have similar mindsets, and it's.
Well, I think that we're both optimists. I think we're both successful in our fields. You know, why are we successful in what we do? Well, I think because we have the courage to try, take risks. Okay, we're hardworking. We have a positive outlook on life, and you know, those are usually ingredients for success. Learn from your failures, and you know, keep an optimistic outlook. I come from a background. I'm a Christian, so you know, I'm not a church-going Christian, but I like to keep that consciousness in my heart of, you know, being connected with the great forces out there, and try to see everything as a blessing, and to count my blessings on a daily basis. That really keeps me buoyant, even when times are really terrible and I'm really bummed out. And a simple thing of just count your blessings will work wonders.
What do you think are the keys to success?
I think the keys to success are being able to recover from failure. Most people don't realize this, but you fail far more than you succeed. And so what you've got to really learn to do is that after you fail, to continue on, and that the next time will be better, and to learn from your mistakes. Just try not to make the same mistake twice. The other thing, I do agree with Tony a lot, be optimistic. That takes optimism that the next time is going to be better. And the other thing that I would say, you can learn from all different kinds of people, and so you need to be able to be open-minded about that.
They do not want us to understand our power. It's not about learning about it, it's remembering it, because it's all there. It's all there. You just have to unlock the prison of religion, and the prison of race, and the prison of your nationality, and the prison of your occupation, again. And, you know, find out who you're not. So, one thing that got me really moving in that direction was the assassination of JFK. Now, the official story was a cheap Italian bolt rifle. The guy took this shot from 10 stories up, hit a target moving. You know, nobody could make that shot from where that guy was, you know, even the experts. And this guy was not an expert. So, you know, it was a simple solution to the problem. He was a patsy. That Lee Harvey Oswald shot JFK using that rifle, and they had, you know, an hour after they got it all done. It's all out in the press. This is the guy that did it, you know. But you start adding up things, and none of it made sense. None of it added up. And but back in those days, you know, as a kid, and I was a kid in 1963. In America, we only had 3 channels, TV, and we were taught that authority is truth, right? So who was the authorities? ABC, CBS, and NBC, all right? And what was NBC's symbol? The peacock, which is also the rising sun. Go look into what the rising sun means, okay? And then what's CBS? What was that? The all-seeing eye, right? Yes, CBS. ABC, I don't know so much about it. But anyway, so and then you had your three anchormen, like Walter Cronkite, another guy, and another guy. So whatever they said was, the truth, because it's Walter Cronkite, And then you can go you can go dig up a video of Walter Cronkite saying how he stands on the right-hand side of Satan. Okay? Got to understand who these people really were. Anyway, so we took whatever they said to be the Bible truth. Right? Never questioned it. And the CIA came up with a term called conspiracy theory for anybody that didn't go along with the official story of the Warren Commission of what happened. Well, there was one guy that didn't go along with it, and he was a guy from New Orleans called D.A. Jim Garrison, district attorney. And he's the guy that took on the Warren Commission and took on all the CIA, etc. And, I read a book called On the Trail of the Assassins, which, they had little factoids in it, like on the morning of the presidential campaign through Dallas, Texas. On the cover of the Dallas Morning News was, on the front page, a map of the presidential motorcade. Now, the interesting thing about that map on the cover of the Dallas Morning News on the day that Kennedy was shot was that map, that the presidential motorcade on that map did not pass the book depository. Wasn't on the map. It went a different route. So that means at the last minute they changed the presidential motorcade. Now, who has the power to change the route of a presidential motorcade? The Cubans? No. The mafia? The CIA? And then you can go and watch a video right now of JFK and Jacqueline Onassis getting off the plane that morning in Dallas, Texas, getting into their limousine, which was going to be on that fateful journey to his death. And there's all the Secret Service guys. And on the back of that limousine is a platform where two Secret Service guys stand to protect the president's rear. Okay? Now, as the motorcade is pulling off from the airport, the head of the Secret Service waves off the two guys from the back. You watch this. And the two guys going, what? What are you talking about? And you see the guy go, come on, get off. And unbeknownst to the president, he pulls off now in the parade, being completely vulnerable from the rear. There aren't the two guys standing there on the back. Now, I could go on and on and on, but I read a book like that, and then all of a sudden, see, I was told 2 + 2 = 5. We're told that every day. 2 + 2 = 5. 2 + 2 = 5. 2 + 2 = 5. And I said, whoa, doggy. I'm finding out 2 + 2 = 4. And I got into the habit of doing my own math. So I took two things and added two more things, and I counted them. 1, 2, 3. There's 4. But they kept telling me it's 5 things. But no, I'll do it again. 2 things. All right, and another 2. There's 4 things there. Simple, analytical thinking. Start asking questions. Demand answers. Take action. Take them where they go. Wow, look. And the other one, and then we fast forward to, 2001, September 11th, that was a mega event, all right? That was the opening of a portal. That was absolutely something. And they give us the BS story that jet fuel caused that to happen. Jet fuel caused that to happen. Wait a minute. So I did something. It told me 2 and 2 = 5. Here's 5. Okay? No, that's not jet fuel. That's not jet fuel. I'm sorry, that's not jet fuel. Okay, that's not jet fuel. Those are explosions going. That's a demolition of a building. All right, has nothing to do with jet fuel. That thing came down in less than 10 seconds. Okay, hello, anybody paying attention? No, nobody's paying attention. Nothing to see here. That's jet fuel. Okay, that's jet fuel. And there was just an apartment building in London that burnt for 3 days. Funny how that didn't collapse, did it? In fact, this was the first time in the history of the world that a building collapsed because of fire. Never happened before. But that's not collapsing, that's being obliterated, okay, by bombs. You know? That's jet fuel? I don't think so. So, I did some serious study. I found out what is the temperature of jet fuel. It's mostly kerosene. How hot does it get when it gets, you know, completely under, I don't know, it's like 600 degrees, 800 degrees. And then tempered steel that holds these buildings together, that was like 2,000 something degrees. So already we got major discrepancy. And you just keep going down, and it's like lie after lie after lie after lie after lie after lie after lie. So, you realize authority is not truth. I want the truth because truth is authority. So, at that point, then I got introduced to a guy called Alex Jones, you know, who he actually predicted 911 was going to happen on his little, yes. You can go look him up on his, in July of 2001 on his cable program. He was a small entity working out of Austin, Texas. And he's on there with his voice that's like comes from the bottom of the barbecue pit. Yeah, well, I got all the government intel here. And I put it all together. And it looks like they're going to take down the World Trade Center buildings. I ask you right now, folks, I'm going to put up the number of the White House on the screen. You call the White House right now and tell them if they do this, we know who did it, okay? That's online. So I started listening to him. I said, this guy blew the top of my head off. Because he started talking about stuff that was like way off my radar. But I tuned in more and more and more. And I said, there's something to this. And then, you know, then I got hip to this dude, David Icke. You know, he wrote stuff back in the 90s talking about the reptiles, you know, talking about the fake reality that we're all involved in, you know. And then there's a book that's underneath here that's this guy Fritz Springmeier. He wrote this book back in the 90s. He did 6 years in jail because he wrote this book. Okay? Because why? Because he was flying over the target. In this book, he talks about the 13 satanic bloodlines, like the Vanderbilts, the DuPonts, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Lees out in the Bundys, the Russells, you know, all these people. And then this is one I recently picked up. Okay? What? You can't say that. Well, they told me 2 and 2 equals 5. So I started doing homework on this stuff. None of it adds up. It's fake. Well, you can't say that. That's Sandy Hook. What about all those children that died? Did they? Did they really? Do you know that for a fact? Or you just saw it on the evening news and said, oh, yeah, we need less guns. Yeah, there's too many guns out there. And, you know, on and on it goes. So, anyway, I'm going to go. Ciao.
What do you think about Tony's ideas and political ideas?
Maybe I should go out of the room and let him speak.
I actually love Tony's ideas, and the problem, and I think he's right, is that we need to be paying more attention to people on listening to what their ideas and see what unites us. Mm-hmm. And he is very good at thinking about that. A lot of people talk about diversity, but don't do it. Tony actually has friends from all over the political spectrum, mm-hmm. and is very open to ideas and also listening to opposing attitudes and ideas.